Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Ganachari Yamuna Tira Ganachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Umajana Timidandasya Janagana Salakayam Chakshus Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manavishtam Yapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Tadatu Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yata Varakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagodatan Sagana Raganatan Vitam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvarutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitam Scha He Krishna Karana Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishwanastuti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpa Tarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Vayevacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. So Canto 3, right?
Yes.
What's the verse? What chapter? 23?
Chapter 23.
Verse 26. 46. Evam yoganubhaivane dam patyo ramanar yayo satam vyatiyu sarada kama lala sharyo manak. 47 is on the board. Tasyam adata ratastam Tasyam adatta vitastam bhavayam atmanatmavit bhavayan atmanatmavit noda vidyaha rupam swam noda vidyaya rupam swam Sarva Sankalpa Vibhu Sarva Sankalpa Vibhu Tasyam Adata Retastam Bhavayan Atmanam Avid Nora Vidhaya Rupam Swam Sarva Sankalpa Vibhu. Bolo. Tatsvamadhatare tastam. Bhavayamatmanatmavit. Noravidaya rupam swam. Savasankavavit vibhu. Tasyamadhatare tastam. Bhavayamatmanatmavit. Noravidaya rupam swam. Sarya sankalpavid bhuvu. Satyam adatare tastam. Bhavayam natmavit. Nodavidaya rupam swam. Savas. Mataji's. Tasyamadhatare tastam. Bhavayam atmanatmavit. Novavidaya rupam swam. Sarva sankhaya vid vibhu. Sankhaya Bhavayan atmanatmavit. Noravidaya rupam swam. Sarva sankalpam vid vibhu. Tasyam, in her. Adata, he deposited. Reta, semen. Tam, her. Bhavayam, regarding. Atmana, as half of himself. Atmavit, a knower of spirit soul. Noha, into nine. Vidhaya, having divided. Rupam, body. Swam, his own. Savasankalpavit, the knower of all desires. Vibhu, the powerful Kardama. Translation. And purport. By His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The powerful Kardama Muni was the knower of everyone's heart, and he could grant whatever one desired. Knowing the spirit soul, he regarded her as half of his body. Dividing himself into 9 forms, he impregnated Devahuti with 9 discharges of semen. Purport. Since Kardama Muni could understand that Devahuti wanted many children, at the first chance he begot 9 children at one time. He is described here as Vibhu, the most powerful master. By his yogic power, he could at once produce 9 daughters in the womb of Devahuti. We can't imitate that. Text 48. Atasva suvav susuve sadhya devahuti striya prajaha savastascharu sarvangyo lohitopala gandharyaha. Translation. Immediately afterwards, on the same day, Devahuti gave birth to 9 female children, all charming in every limb and fragrant with the scent of the red lotus flower. Purport. Devahuti was too sexually excited, and therefore she discharged more ova, and 9 daughters were born. It is said in this Shmiti Shastra, as well as in the Ayurveda, that when the discharge of the male is greater, male children are begotten. But when the discharge of the female is greater, female children are begotten. It appears from this circumstance that Devahuti was more sexually excited, and therefore she had 9 daughters at once. All the daughters, however, were very beautiful, and their bodies were nicely formed. Each resembled a lotus flower and was fragrant like a lotus. Next verse. patim sa praya yishyatantam tadalai yash shosati bahi smamyamam viklave lakvena hidaye yena vidu yata. Translation. When she saw her husband about to leave home, she smiled externally, but in her heart she was agitated and distressed. Purport. Kadava Muni finished his household affairs quickly by his mystic power. The building of a castle in the air, traveling all over the universe with his wife in company of beautiful girls and begetting children were finished. And now, according to his promise to leave home for his real concern of spiritual realization, after impregnating his wife, he was about to go away. Seeing her husband about to leave, Devahuti was very disturbed. But to satisfy her husband, she was smiling. The example of Kardava Muni should be understood very clearly. A person whose main concern is Krishna consciousness, even if he is entrapped in household life, should always be ready to leave household enticement as soon as possible. So, we should always be ready, so therefore, better not to enter into it. The brahmacharis are agreeing. There was once in Germany, 1970, I was kind of induced or pressured to get married. They had a girl picked out for me and everything. It was Hansaduta and Tamal Krishna. They had come there. They were both married at the time. So they wanted all the brahmacharis to get married. Their idea was, to take care of our sisters. But I didn't agree. And so I wrote a letter to Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, and he responded very quickly. He said, there should be no canvassing for brahmacharis to get married. So that's the principle. Srila Prabhupada was always ready and appreciated his grihastas. He never criticized them that they got married. But if you can avoid it, it's easier. Life is more simple. That's a fact. But because the Western world especially, most boys will have a need for a wife, and so Prabhupada said, as you like, you can accept. But you have to be very responsible. Like here, Kadama is responsible. He's created whatever the wife wanted. But now she's not satisfied. She's coming again with an appeal. And rightly so. She wants a son. 9 daughters, they won't protect her or take care of her. So she's coming for requesting a son. Let's just read next verse and see. But still, the purport is, if you can avoid it altogether, that's okay. Nobody will criticize you. Ikantiyado mukhi bhumi pada makya mani striya uvacha lalitam vacham nirudashru kalam santa. She stood and scratched the ground with her foot, which was radiant with the luster of her gem-like nails. Her head bent down. She spoke in slow yet charming accents, suppressing her tears. Purport. Devahuti was so beautiful that her toenails appeared like pearls. As she scratched the ground, it appeared as if pearls were being thrown on the ground. When a woman scratches the ground with her foot, it is a sign that her mind is very disturbed. These signs were sometimes exhibited by the gopis before Krishna. When the gopis came in the dead of night and Krishna asked them to return to their homes, the gopis also scratched the ground like this because their minds were very disturbed. We know this from Krishna book, how the gopis came, and then Krishna said, what are you doing here in the middle of the night? This is not according to Dharma. you shouldn't come out of your house. You're married women. But the gopis were not happy to hear that. And so Krishna agreed that they could come and enjoy with him one night. And that night turned into the night of Brahma, which was millions of years. So the gopis were satisfied by Krishna's behavior with them. He never disappointed them. One more verse. Devahuti uvacha sarvam tad bhagavan mayam upovaha pratishrutam atapi ne prapannaya abhayam datum arhasi. Sri Devahuti said, "My Lord, you have fulfilled all the promises you gave me, yet because I am your surrendered soul, you should give me fearlessness also." So that's a nice prayer, huh? She was very smart. I got a lot of sustenance, or you can say, benefit from reading the prayers of Queen Kunti. The Kapila Muni speaking to Devahuti. What's that called? What's that book? We have a book like that. Teachings of Lord Kapila. Thank you. So there's mostly it's Devahuti speaking to speaking to her son. Kadama had left, but her son was there. She's going to request a son, and she gets a son. And not an ordinary son, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead agrees to become her son. So this is her qualification. She's not an ordinary woman. Krishna agreed to become her child. And so the exchange between her son and her, we've made a book, and it's a very helpful book. We should all read it. You can learn a lot from that. So the point we're making is, Devahuti was a pure devotee. We don't look down on women. Sometimes we get criticized, oh, you're a chauvinist, male chauvinist. No. We respect Devahuti as the pure devotee of the Lord, Draupadi as the pure devotee of the Lord, Kunti as the pure devotee of the Lord. So this is the highest perfection. Purport. Devahuti requested her husband to grant her something without fear. As a wife, she was fully surrendered soul to her husband, and it is the responsibility of the husband to give his wife fearlessness. How one can award fearlessness to his subordinate is mentioned in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. One who cannot get free from the clutches of death is dependent, and he should not become a spiritual master, nor a husband, nor a kinsman, nor a father, nor a mother, etc. It is the duty of the superior to give fearlessness to the subordinate. To take charge of someone, therefore, either as father, mother, spiritual master, relative, or husband, one must accept the responsibility to give his ward freedom from the fearful situation of material existence. Material existence is always fearful and full of anxiety. Devahuti is saying, you have given me all sorts of material comforts by your yogic power, and since you are now prepared to go away, you must give me your last award, so that I may get free from this material conditioned life. So see how intelligent she was. She understood that spiritual life is more important. And she knew she wasn't fully satisfied to get all material advantages, and still she had one thing that was troubling her, that she's afraid. Everyone's afraid of death. They may not say so openly, but it's natural. Nobody wants to die. Therefore, one who can give us, like we are reading, right? Vajrahude mana, Shinandanandana, Abhaya. We want to become fearless. Then we should worship the lotus feet of the son of Nanda. This is the process. But we have to worship purely. without motive. Ahitakiya pratyata. Then Krishna will reciprocate and we'll feel his presence and then we'll be fearless. Just like Prahlad. He came in front of the Lord Nrsingadev and all the rest of them were afraid. Even the demigod, everyone was afraid. But Prahlad was fearless. Why? Because he was a pure devotee. Pure devotee is fearless. We saw it in Srila Prabhupada. He was fearless. I remember once in Chandigarh, I was preaching there, and Prabhupada came, and he was going on a morning walk around this big lake. And just by coincidence, the governor of Punjab also was walking. And the two parties met, and they introduced each other. And first they said, "This is A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. He's the leader of the Hare Krishna movement, and this is so-and-so, I forget his name. He's the governor of Punjab." And so they greeted each other. And the governor, he felt a little threatened, I think, by Prabhupada. So he said, "Oh, we're also doing good work. We have an eye bank. We're giving people new eyes." So Prabhupada said, "Oh, you're giving people eyes? That means you're a Dobie man." So Dobie man, to call a governor a Dobie man is an insult. Dobie man is a guy who collects the cloth, washes at the river, puts on his jackass, brings it back to the people, and dries it out and gives it back to the people. This is how he makes a living, Dobie man. So everybody stopped, and Prabhupada just called the governor a Dobie man? And they stopped, and then Prabhupada said, "Yes. Because a Dobie man is interested in the cloth. So you're interested in the cloth. Bhagavad Gita says the body is like a cloth. We're interested in the soul, but you're interested in the body." What could they say? But I wasn't there for that exchange. But you know who was there? Was a member of the High Court of Punjab. And he was becoming a devotee. He was a very sincere person. And he personally told me this. He said he thought that nobody had chided the governor like that since he was a teenager. But Prabhupada was fearless. He just spoke for everybody's benefit. He didn't think, "Oh, if I flatter this guy, he'll give me money." No, he just went right to the preaching. Of course, sometimes Prabhupada also flattered people to get money. That's all right. But in this occasion, he took the prerogative to preach. Okay? Did I finish the purport? Yes. What else can we speak? I can speak something else about Srila Prabhupada. I have a book I've just finished, and I think we have a few copies still available. Do we, Narada? You can speak. You can see Narada Rishi. He can give you one of my books. But there's a lot of pastimes I had personally with Srila Prabhupada. Do you like to hear one where he chastised me or where he glorified me? Mostly they say both. But Savas, he hammers. Okay. He chastised me quite a bit, actually. The day I was getting initiated in Buffalo, New York, I was thinking, okay, I'm getting initiated. Prabhupada was there. I waited for Prabhupada to come. Like Prahladananda was in the same temple. He got initiated by mail. But I said, no, I want to see this person up close. So he came a few months later, and he was sitting there. He had his head down, and he was looking at something, a page or whatever it was. And then I was kind of looking at him with a inquisitive or trying to penetrate into him, who he was. And Prabhupada had his head down, and he raised his head, and he looked at me looking at him, and he said, "Yes." And he put me right back on the defensive, right? He was the one who saw me. I couldn't see him. You can't know the spiritual master by seeing. You have to know by hearing. So that was a lesson. A slight chastisement. He sometimes chastised me heavier. I'll tell you another one. I came to London a few months later. Prabhupada sent me there to help the Grihastas who were opened a center in London. And Prabhupada came maybe a month or so later. So I was the senior brahmachari, and I was given the service of giving massage to Srila Prabhupada every day. So I liked that service, wonderful service. 11 o'clock in the morning, I'd go and give massage. Just by touching his body like that, he liked strong massage. I felt all my lust disappeared, and I felt so clean and happy just by touching Prabhupada's body every day. So at that time, we had our first big program in London. Maybe 400 people came, mostly Hindus, but a lot of people came, and Prabhupada was speaking. But they weren't also submissive. They were challenging. What about Lord Shiva? Somebody stood up, and it was like that. A few people were questioning Prabhupada. And then this man got up again, and Prabhupada said, "Sit down, you are nonsense." So we never saw Prabhupada so bold. He was like a tiger, right? A lion on the hunt, and a lamb at home. So I was very inspired by that. I'm a little feisty person, and I like to fight sometimes. So I was happy to see Prabhupada fighting like that. And then the next day, I was giving massage. So it was a series of lectures. So he's going to speak again that night. So I was massaging, and I was talking. I learned later from Shruti Kirtian how he said, you shouldn't talk when you're giving massage to Prabhupada, because that's a period he should be kind of resting. But I didn't know. I'm talking, massaging, talking. My mood was, me and you, Prabhupada, we could take over the world. That was my mood, massaging, getting him ready for another knockout. And suddenly he said, "No!" My hands froze on his body. Then he spoke like a child, 7, 8-year-old boy. From way in his heart, he spoke. He said, "I am just a humble servant." I was so embarrassed. I was thinking, he's such an aristocrat, and I'm just an ordinary New Yorker. How I shouldn't be in the same room with him, what to speak of touching his body. And there was a throw rug there, and I thought I should go under the rug. So that was Prabhupada. He taught by example. He was genuinely very humble, and by his humility, it made me a little humble. For the time being, I guess I became puffed up again. But anyway, he really thought of himself like that. It wasn't artificial humility, because he was always remembering his spiritual master and Krishna. So in that relationship, he was a humble servant. He didn't speak wrongly or falsely. He said, "I'm only a humble servant." That's how Prabhupada saw himself, because he was always remembering his guru. Sometimes people ask, well, how to become humble? We become humble by getting in touch with reality. We're a tiny little particle of Krishna. Krishna is so great, but we've defied him. We're trying to imitate him. And so we've been thrown out of the spiritual world due to false ego. We've come here. And now we want to go back. We have to become humble. The first qualification. We read of all the Vaishnavas. They had all different qualifications. Some were Kshatriyas or some were, but they all had this one qualification. In front of the Lord, they were very humble. In front of everybody, they were humble. Unless duty called for it. Duty might call Arjuna to fight, but in his heart, he didn't want to fight. Therefore, the whole Bhagavad Gita was spoken. He was saying, how can I fight these people, Arjuna? Krishna, these are my guru, my teachers. So Arjuna was humble also, but then Krishna encouraged him to be a Kshatriya. Kshatriya has to fight on principle of religion. So the religion was being traversed, principle of religion, so he wanted the Bhagavad Gita to take place. Okay, another time, I have to tell one story when he complimented me. So I was doing this service, as I said, in London, and I was wanting to go with Srila Prabhupada. When he left, he was coming back to Boston, 1968 and 69, and I was hoping I could go with him to continue my service of giving massage. And I was also his driver, chauffeur. So Prabhupada was always non-committal. He said, let us see what Krishna wants. He didn't give a definitive answer one way or the other. But maybe a week before he was due to leave, his servant, Purushottam, came and told me, stop bothering Prabhupada about going back to Boston with us, because he's already agreed to let Upendra give massage when he comes back. So, what can I say? I'm disappointed. But later in the day, I was driving Prabhupada, just the two of us in the car. And I spoke to Srila Prabhupada. I said, Srila Prabhupada, Purushottam told me that Upendra is going to be giving you massage when you come to America. So Prabhupada responded with utter silence. One of the qualities of a devotee is silent. Utter silence. So then, he was just this far away. I could touch him with my hand. But then I realized, the silence means something. I'm not going to go with him. So I resigned to that. And I wasn't going to twist his arm, oh, please take me. So I resigned, okay, this is Krishna's arrangement, I'm going to stay here. And it was good, it was a very learning experience by staying there. Tamal Krishna Maharaj became president there, and I learned a lot from him. First thing he did is threw me out. sent me to Germany. Anyway, that's another story. So here we're going, and I thought, okay, I'm not going to go, but still the silence was there. It was just. So I was thinking how to break the silence. At the same time, let Prabhupada know that I'm resigned not to go. So I spoke. I said, Srila Prabhupada, I never met Upendra. Is he a nice boy? Prabhupada said, he turned to me in the car, he said, not as nice as you. Not as nice as you. Well, right into my heart. I thought, Prabhupada loves me. He did. He loved us. Especially he saw a little surrender, then he would fan it. He was always encouraging. That was the most wonderful thing I saw in Prabhupada, that he was always encouraging everybody from any position to make spiritual advancement. Sometimes with that chastisement, therefore I became convinced that when he chastised me, that was also for my benefit. I didn't get disturbed. Another time he chastised me. He gave me sannyas, 1971. He asked me to take sannyas. I said, I don't know if I'm qualified, Prabhupada. Prabhupada turned to me and said, you want to get married? I said, no. He said, then you can take sannyas. He wanted sannyasis. It was good for preaching, opening this movement all over the world. So he was creating sannyasis. So I went to Japan, and he came there later. The devotees were there. They were already there before I went. And there, we were going on. We were distributing books and so on. My quota was 250 small books a day. We'd go real fast, give the book, and people thought it was for free. Then we'd walk with them and say, Sumimasen, that's Japanese. Excuse me, we need a little donation. Kifu onegai shimasu. And then they would stop, and they'd say, okay, and because you were a monk dressed in robes and tilak and bowing down to them in the street, they wanted to get rid of you as fast as they could. So they immediately gave a coin. It was only 100 yen, but the book cost 10 yen. So we made because we needed money to get registered there to buy a property, which we did do. Anyway, back to the original story. Where was I? Oh yeah. So this time he chastised me. He came to Japan, and I had taken sannyas, and I had done what he said. I had come to Japan. So I was waiting at night. He came late, so he went to his cabin. We had a cabin near the temple. And I was sitting in the morning, 6 o'clock, and waiting to see if Prabhupada was there. So I saw, he opened the door. I came, looked around, and closed the door. So I thought, okay, Prabhupada is up. So I went there. Nobody else. Prabhupada was there. I was the first person in the morning to see him. I went in, paid my obeisances, and I sat there in front of Prabhupada. And honestly, I was expecting that a few words of encouragement. Thank you for coming. How have you been? You're a sannyasi now. But what did Prabhupada say when he saw me? I was expecting a little honor. That's one of the definitions of humility. Never expect honor. So I was expecting some honor. And when Prabhupada saw me, he said, "Oh, it is you. Call the others." That was it. The others were the GBC was there, and then I went and called the others. So, you know, you would think that's not a very good way to deal with your disciples who are ready to do anything that you wanted to do. But Prabhupada knew I could take it. And he wanted to cut my little false ego. It wasn't huge false ego, but it was still there. He could see it, that I was expecting honor from him. And he didn't want to give it at that point. Other times he did. He encouraged me very much. And I knew he loved me, like he did when he said, not as nice as you. So I didn't get discouraged by being chastised. And therefore, I'm able to go on. I mean, this movement has seen a lot of sannyasis fall down. When I took sannyas, I was the 13th sannyasi. Now I'm the second. Jayapataka is the only one. Most of them left because they didn't understand that they should be humble. They wanted to imitate Prabhupada after Prabhupada left, instead of following in the footsteps. They wanted a big Vyasa-san. They wanted a big pot of names. They wanted a... This is all in my book also. So anyway, so even being chastised, my faith never changed. I knew he was my well-wisher. He's everybody's well-wisher. He signed every letter, right? Your ever well-wisher. Didn't he? You got letters from Prabhupada? Didn't he say you're ever well-wisher? Yeah. This is Prabhupada's position. He wants everyone to go back to Godhead. He's everyone's well-wisher. But sometimes if you're a well-wisher, you have to correct your student, correct your child. It said that the boy, from the age 5 to 15, the father is like a tiger, ready to chastise him. Then after he reaches 16, they become more like friends. But it's the duty of the father to correct, just like we're reading here. The husband has to provide for the wife. So Devahuti is requesting, please make me fearless. And he did by giving her the Supreme Personality of Godhead as her son. What a wonderful gift that is. And we should read that book, Teachings of Lord Kapila. Okay, anyone else? Question or comment?
Haribol Maharaj, thank you for the wonderful presentation, especially Prabhupada memories. I seem to recall you saying that in that incident when you were massaging Prabhupada in London, that you were glorifying him about how he was responding to the challengers, and then he told you that the best glorification is if you learn to preach like me.
Best glorification is?
If you learn to preach like me.
You learn to?
To preach.
Preach, yes. Because you have to be humble to preach. We can't preach unless we're a little humble. If we're arrogant, we approach people, they'll never be receptive. So that's a good way we learn how humility. Because you're honored and dishonored in one moment on the street, right? You give a book, somebody says, "Oh, thank you. Why don't you get a job? My God, you're a parasite." So you get both things within a span of 3 minutes, and you realize, what is this honor and dishonor? I'm not affected by it. I mean, I should be steady in honor and dishonor. That's the point, right? Thank you for getting me to speak on that point. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Thank you for the nice instruction and illuminating pastimes of Srila Prabhupada. I recall once that you spoke about how you were massaging Srila Prabhupada, I think, and you were comparing him to a prize fighter. Is that correct?
I couldn't hear it. I was massaging Prabhupada and? Oh, yeah. When I was massaging him, I was thinking he was getting him ready for a fight. But of course, verbally, not. Prabhupada said Brahman fights with his words. So Prabhupada was fighting with his word. He told him, sit down, you are nonsense. That was fighting. Yeah, that was the remembrance that I was thinking like that, getting him in ready for another fight, knockout performance, but not that I wasn't thinking he's going to become physical. Let me tell you another story with a devotee you must know, who was here for a long time. He had the Krishna Institute. What was his name? Didn't he? He was right across the street here for a long time. Kushakrata, thank you. So I'll tell you a quick story about Kushakrata. We were in Buffalo, and Prabhupada came there. We did a program at the university. Then we went to the other university across town, the State University, Teachers College. And we had a program there. Prabhupada came, and general program, right? We had Kirtan, then Jayam prayer, then Prabhupada spoke. So then he asked for questions. And this, I think his name was Peter at the time, Kushakrata. He was sitting behind me on the left. And he started his question by ridiculing the devotees, the way they bowed down and said the Ma Om prayers. So he said, what is this bowing down? He made fun of the devotees. What does this mean? Something like that. Prabhupada understood what he said. And I don't remember exactly what Prabhupada said, but I felt like a bolt of energy fly over my left shoulder, right into this person. Prabhupada spoke very strongly about him. And he didn't see it coming, this old man, but Prabhupada had that energy. Next morning, other side of town, this person is out across the street looking at the temple. It's almost like, what the hell hit me last night? And he became a devotee, did so much work. So Prabhupada was so strong, but it was beneficial. He became a devotee and did so much service. So that's how Prabhupada fought, with his words. He would never think of being physical. Brahman fights with his words. Prabhupada told us that. Okay, there was another question? Yeah. Satyanarayan, is it?
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol Prabhu.
It's just a detail, but since I was also from that Buffalo area, was that the LaSalle Street Temple?
Yes. That's where I joined.
I'm just saying, when I first went to that temple, Prahladananda Swami, I forget his name at that time.
He wasn't a Swami.
Right.
Yeah.
So he opened the door, and the incense and the prasad smell, aroma hit me, and he had some prasadam coming down his face. And I thought that was the most transcendental thing I had ever seen. So I'm just saying that was the first of 3 temples that...
Mahaprasadam Ki.
Yeah.
Our secret weapon.
Hare Krishna.
Anyone else comment? Comment or question? Anyone? Okay, we'll stop here. Bhagavatam Ki. Lord Nrsimhadev Ki.